Ryan's World, formerly known as Ryan ToysReview, is a 10-year-old multimillionaire who gained over $27 million in 2021, putting him in the top 10 highest earners on the YouTube platform that year. How could someone so young achieve this? Was it hard work? Pure luck? Skill? Well, actually, no. It was none of that. You see, there's actually a dark side of the channel that needs to be looked at. This also includes the exploitation of Ryan and all the financial benefits going to the parents. We will also look at the criminal history behind Ryan's mom, Loann Kaji, and unethical practices around the channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at the tragic history of Ryan's Toys Review. Let's start at the very beginning. The Ryan's Toys Review channel was created in March 2015. At the time, Ryan was only 3.5 years old. The videos being uploaded didn't seem out of the ordinary. All we saw was a young child getting toys. This formula seemed to work out amazing since only a couple months later, the channel would explode in views, even getting to 1 billion views sometimes. This is when things become questionable. As mentioned before, the channel was created when Ryan was only 3.5 years old. And years later, when asked in an interview what was the main reason on why he wanted to start a YouTube channel, this was his response.
When I was 3, I was watching other people and I was like, why am I not on there? And I started my own YouTube channel.
Unless Ryan had his life figured out at the age of 3.5 years old, I find it really hard to believe that he really wanted to be a YouTuber. A more logical reason would be that the parents were the ones who wanted to start the channel. Which brings up the question, why? Could it be because they wanted to document Ryan's life? Could it be because Ryan told him he wanted to be a YouTuber? Or could it be because they wanted some financial gain? There's a possibility that it could be the first option. However, you can still document a child's life without having to post it on the internet. And when looking at the third option, it makes the most sense. There's also the criminal history of Ryan's mother that should be addressed. In June 2002, she was arrested at a JCPenney store for shoplifting $93 worth of clothing. For a crime, she was fined $150 for theft, 6 months of probation, and had to serve 40 hours of community service. But this is when things start to get worse. Instead of actually doing her 40 hours of community service, she did none of them, nor did she ever pay her fees. This situation went from bad to worse, as she was then sentenced to 2 months in the Harris County Jail. Shortly after, she was released after 30 days and has managed to stay out of legal trouble ever since. At the time of committing her crime, she was only 18 years old. I have mixed feelings about the situation because even though legally she was an adult, I don't think it's fair to judge her actions and behavior now when she committed this crime over 20 years ago. But also it's something that shouldn't be avoided because she technically still committed the crime. And she really didn't show any remorse or cared about it because she didn't even do her community service hours, nor did she pay her fees. At the end of the day, all we can hope for is that she learned her lesson. After this, Loann would move on with her life, and she would eventually meet her husband, Cheyenne. They would then later on create the channel for Ryan, or like others have suggested, for financial gain. Reading through numerous comments, it's always suggested that Ryan is being exploited and forced to be in these videos. Now at first it doesn't actually seem like this. Looking back at the earlier days of the channel, there's clearly a trade-off shown. Ryan would receive a toy, and in return, his parents would get to record him and get a reaction out of him. This really isn't that bad since it's not like at a young age she's being put to work, or as the comments would say, exploited. He never has to worry about recording the video, editing it, coming up with titles and thumbnails, coming up with ideas, promoting it, and all the other requirements for videos. He would just be the star of the channel, and that's the easy part. However, as he gets older, giving him toys won't necessarily be the best option anymore, since he has so many and he'll have different interests. He's currently 10, but what happens when he turns 12, 14, 16, and even 18? Will this channel still be up and running, or will it eventually fall to pieces? I believe this channel could possibly die when Ryan gets older. He's going to eventually want to move on with his life and not be the star of this kid's channel. But there's another issue following this. Ryan actually has 2 younger twin sisters who are both currently 5 years old. The scary part is they've already made numerous appearances on the channel. With Emma and Kate being half of Ryan's age, they'll replace Ryan when he enters his early teens. This is also damaging for the kids since Ryan and his sisters have always been the star, and usually when young kids grow up famous or well known, they have a tougher time maturing. There's been so many examples of this from Disney stars or young actors. Constantly being recorded at such a young age and having the eyes on you at all times can often lead to mental and social issues later on. Even though Ryan and his sisters aren't as famous as those child actors, I would still say they're pretty well known. I mean, they have like 30 million plus subscribers on YouTube, they're one of the biggest channels on the platform, and I can only imagine how difficult it's going to be for them to mature later on. Once again, they're technically not exploiting the kids, however, who gets the financial gain out of this? The parents do. The kids may receive money, however, they'll get it at a later age, most likely when they turn 18 years old. If this happens, they'll be set for life. I mean, do you know how much money this channel makes? And if it's a possibility that the parents are actually saving their money and taking care of it, I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing. However, the way the channel is making money is definitely something else that's skeptical. The channel was facing accusations of misleading preschoolers into watching ads by not disclosing sponsorship deals, in which this complaint was filed to the Federal Trade Commission. Adding on, it would explain that the target audience for the videos are children under 5 years old, which is considered a vulnerable class, who are not yet able to distinguish between commercials and other content. So basically the channel was promoting toys to a younger audience. But since the audience is so young, they don't know that they're being promoted towards. This is insane because the channel has so many endorsements such as Chuck E. Cheese, Walmart, and Hardee's. And these are pretty large companies as well. It's not like they're getting offers from like these small businesses. In this case, an older audience can really see how often the channel is promoting a product, and it just comes to show how much power this channel really has. I mean, you can literally walk into a Walmart and find Ryan's toys on the display, and he even has his own video game. Like, what? Now, Cheyenne has responded to these accusations by saying, "We strictly follow all platforms' terms of service and all existing laws and regulations, including advertising disclosure requirements, and that the viewer is our top priority." But does this even matter in this situation? Sure, they're technically promoting a product, but as suggested, does their audience even know that they're being advertised to? This brings up the question, does it make it okay for them to advertise then? At the end of the day, this is really all just an ethical dilemma, and it really raises the question on whether kids should be advertised at such an early age or not. In the end, the ethics surrounding the Ryan ToysReview channel comes down to what you believe in. Is Ryan being exploited? Are the parents doing this for their financial gain? Are Emma and Kate going to be the next stars of the channel? Should kids be exposed to advertisements? These are all questions that should be answered. However, at this point, despite Ryan ToysReview having a potentially tragic history to it, the channel will stay on the platform for as long as it can.